Next, I did want to go over to Michigan Wolverines that were in the draft or are now placed on a team. I included some former Michigan transfers too as well, just to kind of see how we think they'll do. But let's start at the running back position. Chris Evans went to the Bengals at 202. Yeah. Obviously, 6th round, you're probably not expecting too much, but I think he does provide depth behind, Joe Mixon, and maybe he's a best case 3rd running back there, but definitely. What do you guys expect from Chris Evans year 1?
Wait. Oh, we're talking about Michigan. I was going to say Michigan State didn't have anybody drafted, so
no. Shakur Brown.
We're talking about Michigan.
Jones went to a roster, but Antoine Simmons did not even go anywhere. So
yeah, we're talking about Michigan, the team that actually had players get drafted. Yeah. So okay, sorry.
Yeah, I would say so. Chris Evans is I don't mind the pick there. I mean, obviously, very little senior tape. Was suspended the year before for an academic problem, but his tape, his freshman year and his sophomore year. Great tape. I mean, he can fly. He's super fast. He bulked up a little bit his last couple of years at Michigan too, so he's not like he's a teeny tiny running back. And I think if he is a 3rd running back on a team, I think he can do some things. You can split him out in the slot receiver. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a pretty good pass protector. He provides value in those situations, which is probably what you want out of a 3rd back or a 3rd down back in the end anyway. So if you're I think he's pretty high value in the 6th round. I actually didn't expect him to get drafted. The only reason I didn't is because he had 15 carries his senior year. So yeah, it's hard to even back off that. But I think this draft, we kind of talked about it before the show. It makes sense for a guy like him to come out in this draft because there's just a lot of guys came back for that extra COVID year, and I think that helped him this year. And I think he fits what the NFL wants to become. It's a passing league, and he's a pass catching running back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think best case he can beat out Samaje Perine is actually currently the number 2 back there, and Travion Williams was I think another 4th round pick from Oklahoma a year or 2 before. Yeah, obviously they got Puka Williams as another undrafted running back, but I really think Chris Evans, if he's anything like he showed in his first couple of years in Michigan, in full-time running position, I think he definitely carries potential to be up to number 2, take over like Ty Johnson did for the Jets last year when he finally got moved to a different team. They're both explosive guys that can do things in the passing game, and I think that's
kind of bad team for the most part. I mean, I think Bengals will be better, but on a bad team, you got a chance to make some moves there.
Yeah. No, I think Chris Evans fits a role. I think he's still what was he, 6th round or 7th round?
6th, yeah.
6th. I mean, he's still a 6th round pick, so depending on the team he would have got chosen by, he could be off a roster. But yeah, I think he could be the 2nd guy on that team. I think he'll at least have the opportunity to show that he should be the 2nd guy on the team, and I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's gonna blow anyone's mind. But yeah, I think he was a solid running back, especially in kind of a weak running back class. There was 2 top guys and then a bunch of other dudes kind of all in the same tier. So yeah, I think he could be a contributor.
Yeah. And then Ben Mason, fullback went to the Baltimore Ravens at 184. I mean, the ideal kneecap biter for sure. Just again, only fullback that got drafted this season, and I was really hoping he would have fell undrafted maybe to a kneecap biting wanting team. So unfortunately, it didn't happen. But Ben Mason obviously fits exactly what the Ravens want to do too. They're run heavy and pretty much every facet. So I think that was a good pick. I think if that's what you want to do, you want a guy that's gonna gun for your linebacker right off the ball.
Ben Mason is a face destroyer. That guy can block. All right. So and I think he fits exactly what they want. He can play that H-back role and that kind of that wing role in that offense too as a lead blocker. And he can catch the ball. He showed that, especially early in his career. The first year he was kind of he hurdled a dude catching the ball out of the backfield. He had probably a handful of touchdowns that year too. just either catching the ball or running the ball. So he's versatile, and I think that's what you kind of want, especially in that offense that they're running. I think he adds value there. So
yeah, I mean, I think if he wasn't going to get picked by the Lions, which I think all of us wanted, but
yeah, that'd been awesome.
The Ravens is the team that for him, really, like with all their running and the different looks they get and how heavily they rely on blocking from their running backs or a fullback, or they're going to use the heck out of him, and he fits what they need perfectly.
Yeah.
Nico Collins went to the Houston Texans, 89th overall. Obviously, Houston Texans did not have any picks in the first round. They were the last team to have a pick. Their first pick was actually Davis Mills at 67. So, I think Nico Collins was their second pick in this draft. Obviously, a need. They certainly needed wide receiver. It's just, how do you feel Nico Collins is going to perform in the NFL?
Yeah, I thought it was a little high for him. Sure. Like, I thought he's a big body. He can go up and get it, and some good speed. So I thought he was going to get picked, but I didn't know it'd be that early. But, yeah, I mean, like, Deshaun Watson needs weapons, I guess. Like, I thought they were pretty good at wide receiver, but I think they lost a few of those guys from last year. So
they're bad. They have Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
And then they got Randall Cobb, who's basically nothing at this point. Andre Roberts is pretty much a glorified kick returner. You still have Kiki Kute, but after that, Chris Conley is your other guy. They're pretty much as bad as the Lions were at this point.
Yeah, so I think maybe it's just because I'm a freaking Michigan fan, but I think he's a good player. I don't I think similar to Chris Evans, I don't think he's gonna blow anyone away or drop people's jaws, but I think he'll have some good catches. I think Deshaun Watson, hopefully he can find a connection with him, but he's got a lot of just he's just really athletic. I think he's a really athletic player. So I think he could be a successful NFL wide receiver. I don't think he's a number one guy ever, but he's a pretty successful number 2 or 3 guy.
Yeah. I mean, I like Nico Collins. I think he fits what the NFL wants. He's a downfield guy, and he's kind of a freak of nature. If he ever learns how to run something other than a deep route, he's going to be, he's kind of a freak. Problem for him, not quite sure Deshaun Watson's going to be around. He may be in jail. So we might have some problems there. So that sucks for Nico Collins in that sense. However, which maybe kind of explains the Davis Mills pick, the Deshaun Watson deal. But I think he certainly is an NFL receiver, and I think he could be a really good number 2 maybe down the road if he kind of refines his game. And that was kind of Michigan's, the whole thing with him is he just needs to refine his game, and that's what you're kind of hoping. If he ended up playing that last year, you were kind of hoping to see that. But he never quite did that. And that's okay. He obviously opted out, and that's fine. But if he can do that, he's going to be a real good number 2 in my opinion.
And then Tarik Black obviously transferred from Michigan, went to Texas, did not do much at Texas either. I think he's got a motivation problem. I don't know what it is, but he didn't get it together either place he was, other than a 1-year show early on in his Michigan career. He's currently listed as the 10th wide receiver on the Colts depth chart, so probably cut, I would imagine. Yeah. Colts are pretty saturated, especially even after drafting Mike Straken from Charlotte, West Virginia College. Small school, but talented wide receiver there. They've got T.Y. Still, Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, J.J. Nelson, Desmond Patton, Zach Pascal, Ashton Doolin, Gary Jennings, and then Mike Straken. So he's done. I don't think that's a question.
I don't think too deep in. Yeah, I don't think Tarik Black makes a roster.
Well, I don't either. It kind of sucks because you saw, as a Michigan fan, if we look at this from Michigan's perspective, you saw what he could do early in his career, and then he had a lot of injuries, and that sucks, to see. But and then I agree with you. He sort of had a motivational problem. I don't know if some of it was the injuries. You never really know what's going on in the guy's head. But yeah, I think that's something that kind of sucks to see, for a guy that, you saw the talent early on. but I don't think he really makes a roster. Certainly, I don't think he's making the Colts roster. Maybe if somebody else picks him up and it fits you, maybe if they have some injuries, maybe he can catch on somewhere. But I just don't really see that happening at this point.
Yeah.
And then another receiving option, I guess we can call him that. Nick Eubanks went undrafted to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys haven't really found a real, tight end resolution, and they really actually still didn't address it even in the draft. They got 2 undrafted tight ends, Artavius Lynn and Nick Eubanks. But they've still got guys like Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, and Sean McCune, also from Michigan, on the roster right now. Does Nick Eubanks squeak on maybe?
I mean, I think he's got a chance. I don't really see it. Eubanks is another guy that I loved Nick Eubanks heading into this season, and then he just angered me every time he was on the field this past year. Just a complete lack of effort on certain things. And that was my problem. I mean, he was passed up by some sophomores and freshmen last year. And he had some injury problems, and you never know with the COVID stuff. Maybe he had that too, because Michigan never released that data, whatever. But you could see the talent, especially early in his year. He was an oversized wide receiver early in his career, and that's something the NFL is a big fan of right now. And then he bulked up a little bit, and then just never quite figured it out. And the hope for a guy like him, and for Nico Collins, and any kind of pass catcher around Michigan right now, is that you can chalk some of it up probably to crappy cute quarterback play the last few years, but you can't really chalk it all up there. So I don't love him, but I think he's got a chance because he's athletic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's his thing. Just he was apathetic as hell. He just gave no effort into what he was doing, so he didn't do anything. He didn't show it. But I mean, he's got good enough size. He's got good enough strength. He could be something. It's just he really didn't care to block anyone. He's not that good of a blocker. And if you're fighting for a roster spot when it comes to an undrafted free agent or even a late round pick, if you're a tight end, you need to do everything. You need to you're trying to find a way on a roster, and you're only going to do that in those positions if you do, you're usually not doing one thing really well. So you're usually needing to do many things pretty well. And he doesn't do that. So if he gives a crap and really tries to go at it, I think he could make a roster.
Yeah, he has to beat out Sean McCune. I think that's pretty much the.
Yeah, he couldn't even do that at Michigan though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both. That's the thing. Sean McCune, he'll at least try to block somebody.
Yeah,
that's something that separated those two guys. So, offensive tackle Jalen Mayfield. He went 68th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. And he was actually the second Michigan player to come off the board. I think that's kind of what we expected anyway.
But I thought he dropped a little farther than I thought he would.
I agree.
I mean, I figured he was a second round pick. I just thought he was an early second.
Yeah, me too.
He was beginning of the third. So, Anyway, so right now Atlanta's sitting at tackle with Caleb McGarry and Jake Matthews. I think Jake Matthews probably moves inside. He does have experience at the guard position, and I think that way they can get potentially their early third round pick involved in the offense like you would prefer. So I think Jalen Mayfield sees the field early and often with the Atlanta offense.
Yeah, I think they feel pretty good about that pick. I feel like they feel like they got a lot of value with Mayfield there. I felt like he was a second round pick. I think he fell a little bit. I think maybe the injuries, because he's had them in multiple years, probably maybe scared some teams. And he I don't know. He was a guy that really grew into a tackle position because he was kind of undersized when he first got to Michigan. They really bulked him up, but he's got some good film. I mean, he shut down Chase Young 2 years ago. The year before Chase Young came out, so he certainly got some good film against some good pass rushers. I think, he didn't have a lot of film this past year, and I think he probably got hurt from playing this past year because he wasn't great, and I think part of it was because he was hurt. He was playing hurt for part of it. But if he had stuck with the opt-out, and then just went out this past year, the year without adding any more to his film, I think he probably would have gone mid-second round. But he fell a little bit, and that's what happens sometimes. But I think Atlanta got a really good player, and I think he's certainly going to be able to play right away.
Yeah.
And then they have a guy that transferred, another transfer here, James Hudson, played with Michigan, I think the first 2 years, and then transferred over to Cincinnati. He was picked 110th, went to the Browns, and I think he is going to be with the Lions, have with Tyrell Crosby, just kind of that swing tackle, because obviously they drafted early last year, Jedrick Wills, and then they also have Jack Conklin on the other side. So they're pretty good at tackle as well right now. And I think Hudson's just a guy that can come in there in case someone does go down and hopefully be a serviceable spot.
Hudson at Michigan was a defensive lineman, and then Michigan ended up moving him to offensive line, and then he apparently transferred to Cincinnati because he didn't want to play offensive line, and then he ended up playing
offensive line,
which is just
can't win.
Just stupid, but and then whatever. But I think he's a good player. Michigan loved him at offensive line. That's why they wanted to move him there, and then the transfer happened. But I think you can make a career being a swing tackle in the NFL, and you're kind of the first guy up too if an injury happens, or and I don't think he's really a guy that they can kick inside, so I don't think he's versatile enough for that. But if they've got another guy, that's playing tackle that they can kick inside, like, then maybe, if somebody goes down, he's the kind of the first guy that steps in. So, I think he's definitely going to have an NFL career, and I think he's certainly, valuable in that pick. And you gotta have 3 tackles on your team, because if one guy goes down, you don't have anybody to back him up there. Your quarterback is suddenly exposed. So, he certainly has value there, and I like the pick there.
Isaiah, how's it going, buddy?
Sorry, man. It's 9:30, so.
Okay, well, I'll speed through some of these. Obviously, Carlo Kemp went undrafted then to Green Bay. A guy that I don't think he's going to make a roster, but I think he's at least going to get his shot.
Yeah, I think he's undersized. He's just always has been. So.
Yeah, and so we could probably move right over to edge here. Kwity Paye was the first Michigan player that was selected and went to the Indianapolis Colts at 21 overall. He is an immediate upgrade at pass rush, and once again helps strengthen that pretty strong defense with a good linebacker group to help to sturdy the front seven a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's going to play right away, and he fits in with that defense.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people had him as the number 1 overall edge. I know Jalen Phillips went before him, but I think he's just going to be a straight-out contributor right out the gate for Indianapolis. They needed help with that position, and he'll definitely find some use there.
Yep.
All right, and then briefly we'll talk about Michael Dwumfour. Obviously, another Michigan transfer, went to Rutgers, did pretty well at Rutgers. I felt like even when he did play with Michigan against Michigan. I think it's pretty set in stone right now that Fatukasi and Jonathan Marshall that they drafted are going to be their starting guys, and maybe best case Dwumfour gets a rotational position if he performs well in the preseason. But
I like Dwumfour. I've always liked him because I think he's kind of in that Mo Hurst build where he's a little undersized, but he's fast, he's quick, and that's something that teams can work with. They want that pass rush from the interior because that wrecks games. And even if you can just have a guy as a rotation guy where he's just going to kind of make some impact plays 3 or 4 times a game, I think he's going to find a roster. Whether it's with New York or whether it's with a different team, I think he'll find a team that he can stick with for a little while.
Yeah. And then Cam McGrone, a linebacker, went to the Patriots, getting another Michigan guy in that front 7. Mm-hmm. He went 177th overall. Again, that's usually a spot where you are looking for depth, but the New England Patriots maybe do have some openings at their starting linebacker core. They did pick Matt Judon this offseason, and then you got Kyle Vanoy. They also picked up back to New England, so that might push Chase Winovich back to edge, and then that pushes Cam McGrone back inside. But they're pretty set with Raekwon McMillan and Dwan Bentley and Dante Hightower and Josh Uche also in those positions. So again, it's pretty saturated in the linebacker room right now with New England, full of Michigan guys themselves. But I think Cam McGrone, if at worst, starts out special teams and works his way into that first four linebacker group.
He's a fast linebacker, so I think I think Belichick likes those kind of guys, and I think he'll work his way into, at least playing time at linebacker, and he's definitely going to play special teams.
Yeah, I think he'll be special teams right off the gate, but I think he could work his way onto the field for linebacker. It's definitely, it's a little bit of a full position for New England, but Bill Belichick also runs a lot of looks on defense. Like, I know he's not the D coordinator, but he basically is. He throws guys out there. He uses a lot of personnel and different players in different situations. So, and he likes hard work. So if McGrone just works his butt off on special teams, I think Belichick will find a place for him on the roster and playing meaningful snaps.
That's a really good point. Like, he'll put you in there if you can do one thing really good.
Yeah.
He'll put you in that position just to do that thing. You know what I mean? And then, hey, cool, you can do that thing, and that's all you're going to do. Like Matthew Slater, perfect example. You are a gunner, and you're going to be a gunner on special teams for 25 years. Okay. And we're going to pay you to do it, and you're going to be happy as a clam doing that. So I think that's probably perfect spot for him right now.
Yeah. Ambry Thomas, corner, went to San Francisco 49ers, 102nd overall. Another guy that we all kind of agreed went a little earlier than anticipated. Corner is not a super position concern. They got Jason Verrett and K'Wan Williams, and then Dante Johnson. Ambry Thomas might find his way in that rotation, though, with Emmanuel Mosley as well. And obviously at return, super effective for Michigan before he opted out last year. They do have Richie James at the return, but maybe they want Richie James higher up on the wide receiver depth chart where they don't want to expose him to those kind of injuries. And then over River Craycraft is another guy. So I think Ambry Thomas is going to have opportunities as a return man on the special teams, if not as a fourth or fifth corner on this team.
I think he can play corner, and I think he can play slot corner too, because he's fast. So, and he's a good man-to-man cover guy. And we didn't see a lot of him in zone, but that's fine. I mean, again, a guy that, fits a role, and certainly gets a chance on special teams as a return guy. He's fast. He's dynamic with the ball. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. And I think he's very prototypical when it comes to his tangible stats, so his speed, his size. So he definitely fits the mold to be an NFL cornerback. And but yeah, I think similar to McGrone, he'll find his way on special teams probably right away. But I think he could find utilization as an NFL cornerback. He's just gotta refine a few things. I always thought he had pretty good hands. He could just get his hands in the way of the ball, or at least in the way of the players' eyes. But everything just gets harder in the NFL. But I think he can be a contributing player in some aspects and find his way into bigger roles in the future.
Yeah, he has good ball skills. Michigan was playing him at wide receiver a little bit his sophomore year. I mean, just to get the ball. So.
Last two here, Cameron Cheeseman went to the Washington football team at 225th overall in the 7th round. Obviously, it's always a highlight when your long snapper gets drafted. It is the first long snapper to even get a shot in the NFL from Michigan since long snapper became an actual position in about 2002.
Yeah, I think if you draft a long snapper, you got to figure he's going to make. I mean, that's why you
think. But Bob Quinn,
he's going to be that guy, right?
Jimmy Landis out of Baylor in the 6th round, before even Dwayne Washington, before he drafted Jimmy Landis that draft, and didn't even play in the NFL one time ever.
True. Yeah, I think Cheeseman's good. I think Cheeseman's going to
be the starting snapper. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll probably have a 20-year NFL career and be in Washington for his entire life.
It's not a bad living just to go out there a couple of times, snap a football. So
it's not.
He is actually listed right now as the only long snapper on that depth chart, so things are looking pretty good for him. Quinn Nordine is the only player that is still not assigned a team. That's why he's bolded there in black. Only player from Michigan that has not gotten an opportunity yet, even be signed as an undrafted free agent. Again, obviously this is a long list of special teamers, so it's pretty saturated.
Well, I think he's a guy with a big leg that might get a chance at some point if he wants to.
If he doesn't fail his second evals.
Yeah, maybe that he's kind of nuts. But you know what? I mean, if he wants to, he's got an NFL leg. Because a lot of times you'll see kickers come out that maybe they were good in college, but they don't have. I mean, you got to have a big leg to be in the NFL. Like you got to have that portion of it covered. You can't be just a guy that can kick at most 45 yarders. Like you got to have a big leg. So
I've got to think a team's coming calling for him at some point.
Yeah, and it's just what I think he'll get some tryouts and just whether or not he shows enough that. I mean, there's teams that their kicker blows a knee out in the second week of the preseason too that are like, oh crap, now we need a kicker. He might fit that. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, good stuff, guys.
Yeah, I think that's where he finds his way in my mind, is if someone busts their kneecap off and then he just needs to kick a bomb. But that's really all he has is just a big leg.
You know the Lions are going to be biting some kneecaps, so maybe that's where we give him his opportunity.
Agreed.
Yeah.